The winter wind blew cold across the parking lot of Crestwood Mall, tugging at jackets and sending litter swirling across the asphalt. It was late afternoon. The golden light slipping behind the gray skyline of DC. Shoppers bustled in and out of stores with holiday bags and coffee cups, laughing, talking. The world spinning as usual. And then, out of nowhere, came the shouting. "Hey! Stop right there!" Marcus Hill froze mid-step, holding his new sneakers in a small paper bag. He had just spent the money he'd saved from tutoring kids in his neighborhood. 16 years old, honor student, debate club champion, and a young black teen who had learned long ago that every move he made could be misinterpreted. He turned slowly, confusion furrowing his brow as two police officers stormed toward him from the mall entrance. One had his hand on his holster. "What's going on?" Marcus asked quietly. "Don't move. Drop the bag." People stopped to stare. Phones came out. Marcus's heart thumped hard. "Sir, I didn't do anything. Hands behind your head." Adidas told, trying to stay calm, but his fingers trembled. He knew what could happen if he didn't move right. If his tone was too defensive, if his eyes were seen as defiant. "Where'd you get those shoes, kid?" the older officer demanded. "I bought them inside the store." "You can ask the cashier." "Don't lie to me." Before Marcus could explain further, one officer grabbed his arm roughly. Teabag fell, sneakers tumbling out. "We got a report of a shoplifter matching your description," the officer muttered. "I have the receipt right here." Marcus pleaded, trying to reach for his pocket, but the younger cop slammed him against the hood of a patrol car that had just pulled up. Gasps rose from the crowd. A woman shouted, "He didn't do anything," but the officers ignored her. Tears welled in Marcus's eyes, not from pain, but humiliation. He could feel every eye on him, every whisper cutting like glass. In that moment, he thought of his mother, how she always told him to keep his head high and hands visible. How she said, "If anything ever happens, stay calm. Don't let anger take your soul." He whispered through gritted teeth, "You're making a mistake." The officer sneered, "We'll see about that." He pressed Marcus's face harder against the hood. "You kids think you can steal and walk away like it's nothing." And then a car screeched to a stop nearby. Out stepped a man in a black coat, tall, clean-shaven, his eyes sharp as steel. Behind him, more black SUVs rolled in. Tin of tin. Doors opened, and men and women in suits fanned out swiftly, flashing badges. The crowd murmured, confused. The first man's voice cut through the chaos. "Let him go. Now." The officers froze. "Who the hell are you?" One snapped. The man stepped closer. "Director Samuel Hill. Federal Bureau of Investigation." The color drained from the officer's face. He looked at Marcus, then back at the man, realizing the surname was the same. The boyuda slammed into a hood. The director's voice trembled with restrained fury. "Is my son?" Silence blanketed the parking lot. Even the wind seemed to stop. Marcus slowly turned his head, blinking through tears. "Dad." Director Hill's jaw clenched as he stepped forward. "You're going to take your hands off my son now." The officers scrambled back, stammering apologies. One tried to explain, "Sir, we got a call about a shoplifter. Andy saw a black teen with a shopping bag and decided he was a criminal." Hill snapped. His voice echoed with the authority of a man who'd seen too much of America as double standards. "You didn't check your facts. You didn't even ask questions. You tackled a child." The senior FBI agents surrounded the scene, forming a silent wall between Marcus and the officers. The onlookers raised their phones higher, some already crying. Director Hill looked down at his son, brushing dust off his jacket gently. "You okay, Marcus?" Marcus nodded weakly, swallowing the lump in his throat. I didn't do anything, Dad." "I know, son, I know." Hill turned back toward the officers, his tone now ice cold. "You're suspended, both of you, effective immediately. Internal Affairs will contact you within the hour. and the FBI will be reviewing the footage. One officer whispered, "Sir, please." But Hill cut him off. "You should have thought before putting your hands on my child. You should have remembered your oath, to protect and serve, not to humiliate and harm." Marcus stood quietly, tears streaming down his face. For years, he had seen the way the world treated people like him. But today, that reality had found him personally. His father's hand rested on his shoulder. "You did everything right," Hill whispered. "You stayed calm. You survived." But that night, when they sat at home in silence, the strength that held them up began to crumble. Marcus sat on the couch, his hands shaking as he scrolled through the videos online, his face pressed against the hood of the car, tears visible, thousands of comments flooding in. Another black kid targeted for nothing. Good thing his dad showed up. Imagine if he was an FBI. That last comment haunted him. Because he knew it was true. If his father hadn't arrived, if those black SUVs hadn't come, would he have been another name on the news? Another misunderstanding. His mother, Dana, came in quietly and sat beside him. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "you're safe now." He looked up, eyes red. "Am I? What about the next kid who doesn't have a dad in the FBI? What happens to him?" Tears filled her eyes. "We'll make sure people know, baby. Your father's going to make sure they know." And he did. The next morning, Director Hill held a press conference outside the FBI headquarters. The world watched as he stood before microphones, his son's trembling image already viral across every platform. "My son was tackled, humiliated, and handcuffed because of the color of his skin," he said firmly. He was not seen as a boy, but as a threat. This is not just about him. It is about every young black man and woman who walks in fear of those meant to protect them. This ends now. His speech rippled across the nation. Departments began reviewing training policies. The two officers were charged with misconduct, their body cam footage released publicly. But Marcus didn't care for the politics or headlines. The wound ran deeper. Weeks later, he visited the same mall, not out of bravery, but necessity. He wanted to reclaim the space where he'd been broken. He stood quietly near the spot where it all happened. The asphalt still carried faint tire marks from that day. It whispered, "I forgive you." He didn't say it for the officers. He said it for himself. His father stood a few feet away, watching. "You don't have to do that, son." "I do," Marcus said softly. "Because if I don't, they still own that part of me." The wind carried the boy's words away, but the strength in them lingered. Months later, Marcus started a youth organization called Calm Before Justice, helping kids of color learn how to protect themselves in unfair encounters, how to know their rights, and how to speak up safely. His story inspired national reform. One day, a letter arrived at their home. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note. "I was one of the officers who tackled you. I resigned. I've been going to therapy. I'm sorry for what I did to you. I can't undo it, but I want to be better." Marcus stared at the paper for a long time. Then, quietly, he smiled. "Maybe," he whispered, "some things can change." He framed the note, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. That pain could build bridges, if handled with courage. And those scars remained. Marcus never again bowed his head in fear, because the day they tackled him was also the day they learned. Not all battles are fought with fists or guns. Some are fought with truth, with restraint, with dignity that refuses to be broken. And that's how one teenage boy turned humiliation into healing and revenge into reform.